if there's lessons to be learned, I made a mistake with Last Gang, because as I got busy with Drake, instead of taking the money from Last Gang and kind of putting it back into the business and staffing it with, young adults, it was more or less staffed by interns. And underserviced that part of the business. As those acts were getting bigger and bigger, I should have been providing more and more service at a high level.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that, and they were upset with me.
Yeah, they feel neglected at that point, right, when that's happening.
And if I had to do it all over again, I would have tried to find people like you to bring into my orbit to help me run this business, because I'm going to France with Drake, and I'll be back in a week. But I need someone here to be an adult in the room to run this Last Gang business.
Welcome to the Manager's Playbook. I'm your host, Mauricio Ruiz, and today's episode is featuring Chris Taylor.
Chris, one of the best pros. Man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for doing this. I want to start this off by saying, and this is my humble opinion. In my humble opinion, you are the most accomplished, well-rounded Canadian music executives the business has ever seen.
You're going to make me blush.
This is why we do the podcast.
You got makeup here?
I mean that. I truly mean that. And your journey is incredible. And I think the only reason the only way that we can understand why I say that is I think we really got to start from the beginning of your journey. So if you don't mind, talk to me about what brought you to the music business originally. Obviously, it wasn't the business, it's the music, but let's start there.
Yeah, sure. I was born in Windsor, Ontario.
Nice.
Border town, much underappreciated border town, because you border on Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
Detroit, Michigan is one of the hottest radio markets in the United States, if not the world, growing up. So you have CKLW for sort of pop and top 40 and Motown, WRIF for hard rock music,
right?
WJLB for urban music, R&B, everything, on the radio dial growing up. And it was always on in the house. My mom was a huge music fan. She always had country music playing in the house, kind of country, rock and roll, Elvis Presley, Dolly Parton, Jerry Lewis.
Really?
In the kitchen all the time. So music was always around growing up.
Also from Windsor, born and raised in Windsor?
My folks were, my mom, I think, was born in Guelph, and my dad was born in Windsor, but they're Windsor folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's still there. My mom passed away in 2016, but we've got lots of family still in the Windsor area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then there was always music in the home. And so you just, not by choice, you fell in love with it because it's always surrounding you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Music in the house growing up. Got a guitar when I was 12 or 13 with a bunch of my friends. Started playing in bands in, early parts of high school. Punk rock changed my life. 1979, I heard the Sex Pistols, and like a bomb went off in my head.
Do you remember the moment?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was up with my friend Robbie D, who was my guitar player. We were upstairs in his bedroom playing his brother's vinyl of Sex Pistols, Nevermind the Bollocks. And they played, playing that record and just listening to it song after song, Bodies and different songs on that record.
Yeah.
Just blew my mind.
It's always the older brother or the older sibling that puts on the younger ones on it, right?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
So, Sex Pistols lead to The Clash, leads to... those bands were incorporating reggae music into their sets and into their records, and sort of picking up on that sound and sort of following that down a wormhole as well. And we started in high school as punk rock bands, and then ska reggae bands.
Right.
Through high school. So we were always playing in bands, playing shows, setting up in, there there was a Chinese restaurant in Windsor called the King Hua on Olette Street that we used to, eventually we started playing, we'd do like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night upstairs. We'd bring in our own PA and our own stage and just rage, you know, for 3 nights in a row. You know, with us and all of our friends and all the other punk rockers in Windsor at the time.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a real scene. That was kind of like, that would have been like 80 to 84.
Got you.
Yeah.
And you, in the band, you were?
I was the singer.
The singer?
Yeah, I was always the singer.
Okay.
Yeah. The mouthpiece.
No,
yeah.
It makes sense actually moving forward in your career, but I don't think a lot of people know that you were the lead singer in a band. But so take me through that. Now this is you're a teenager at this point, right?
Yeah, 84 is the end of high school.
Yeah.
Graduated from high school.
Yeah.
Went to University of Windsor, and still played in bands through university. And then by the time university finished, I actually ended up getting into law school in 87.
Okay.
So moved up to Toronto at that time and was still in touch with the band members. The band had kind of fizzled out because of that. My guitar player moved to London. He was going to Western. He got into med school.
Oh, okay.
He got into med school. I got into law school. And then sometime after the first year of law school and med school, we decided to kind of try to put the band back together. It's like, well, I don't really like law school. You don't really like med school. Let's put the band back together. Maybe we can, you know, try to make a go of it.
That's interesting. So what brought you to law school?
I thought I wanted to be the Prime Minister of Canada. And then at some point it dawned on me that I was going to have to learn French. And that was never going to happen.
Okay.
I've always been terrible with languages. I don't know why. It's just something I never picked up very easily.
Okay.
So that was a motivation. I thought, you know, it was a good job. You know,
to become the Prime Minister, you thought it was a good job?
Good job to be the Prime Minister, or at least to be a lawyer, have some sort of degree in your back pocket. You know? That was kind of all of the motivation.
So you're 18, 19, 17. When are you thinking that you want to become the Prime Minister? At what age and why do you have the audacity to think that you can become the Prime Minister?
My father was always involved in unions and union politics in Windsor. And Windsor's Windsor's a real labor town. We had a really strong NDP presence. Shout out Howard McCurdy, Steve Langdon, NDP representatives. And at university, I was the president of the NDP youth on campus.
Gotcha.
You know, so sort of following my father's footsteps a little bit in that regard, and being inspired by him, and in believing in, you know, social democratic policies. That was the motivation. I think Steve Langdon, Howard McCurdy, I think they were all lawyers, these MPs, you know, that were going to Ottawa and stuff like that. So
I see.
Thought, well, I'm going to get a law degree and I'm going to sort of follow in their footsteps.
Right.
But somewhere in the middle of that, rock and roll tugged me out out of the mix. Yeah. And we pursued the band stuff. So in the middle of law school, we started putting this band together in Toronto, and we started playing shows. We'd go down to London and play Call the Office. We'd go to Toronto, play Lee's Palace, Horseshoe Tavern. You know, started really developing a following. So by the end of law school, by the end of third year, instead of going to practice law with all my schoolmates, we basically got a van and started touring around North America, like by the end of that summer, by the end of the summer in 1990.
What's that conversation like with your folks? You're not going back to law school. You're going to go out, get in a van and just start touring.
It was remarkably supportive. My parents, you know, going back to my earlier story, mom was a huge music fan, dad, big music fans. My parents were country dance instructors, country line dancing instructors. My father went by the moniker Sheriff Norm, and my mom was Down the Line Sue. And they used to host country line dancing parties or gatherings in Windsor. So they had some notoriety for that. And I think they were just always like, as music fans, and they would come to see my group perform.
Yeah.
And just couldn't believe how much fun everybody was having, and that the place was so crowded and everything else. So I think by the time I finished law school and that's what I wanted to pursue, it almost made sense. It's like, well, yeah, of course you're going to pursue that.
Right.
It's going really, really well. You're actually making a living doing that, and you enjoy it so much. They were really supportive.
Oh, so you were at this point being financially compensated for the gigs that you were doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we had 8 guys in the band, so it got split up pretty thinly.
Sure.
But it was still, we were
still something. It's a reality.
Yeah, we were a very popular bar band, playing 3 nights sold out at Lee's Palace. That's
3 nights.
Yeah, you do 3 nights at Lee's Palace, you do a couple nights in Guelph at the Keg or wherever you play there, and that becomes a living.
Yeah. Yeah. How does that, to me, it feels like it doesn't really change in terms of like building a fan base. I think more people think of it more today in terms of like building a fan base on social media. And I think there is validity to that, but I don't think that it gets you real fans, right? Do you see do you think things still are similar in terms of maybe not the approach, but still you have to build a fan base, from today versus back then?
I think you have to build, you have to, and you want to build a fan base. I think there's different routes to doing that, and there's different strokes for different folks. There's artists who would much rather prefer to stay in their bedroom and record and make money off streaming their music or sync licensing or things like that. And then there's other artists that really enjoy the road. I think to really, build a global career, I think you do have to tour.
Yeah.
I think you do have to meet your fans one-on-one and have performances and make human connection.
Still to this day.
Yeah.
And that was my question. I think that was more what I was trying to get at is like, has that changed, or do you feel like that's still the same approach ultimately if you want to really grow a global fan base, is touring?
Yeah. Right. I mean, when I was touring, in the early 90s like that, there was no way my music was ever going to get to anyone in Australia. No one was ever going to hear my music really outside of North America.
Right.
Because of distribution channels,
yes.
Right? There's no SoundCloud back then, right? It's like if you didn't have your CD racked in a store, people were not able to buy it and listen to it.
Right.
Whereas now that kid who's recording in a basement somewhere can record that day, finish a song that day, put their music up that day, and it's available around the world.
Of course, of course.
So the dynamic on all of that has changed.
For sure.
In 30 years.
Right. But so back 30 years ago though, when you're building this fan base and you're selling out Lee's Palace and you're hitting the road, have you guys already put together a project and you're selling this project? Have you been signed at this point? Or are you just building a fan base based off of the performances that you guys are doing?
Yeah, early days it was independent. So I think we actually we did vinyl. Actually, we had a piece of vinyl we started out with in the early days. And then we did make, we made music and recordings and independent CDs, which we would go out and manufacture independently and distribute independently. And then eventually we were signed to Virgin in 94.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in this time, you also, I believe, are managed by another absolute legend in the game today.
Yeah, we got to have him on this show.
Listen, tell him in the camera.
You're next, Chris Smith.
We're talking about Chris Smith.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get him on. When I actually had him on during...
He likes to stay a little bit behind the scenes. He doesn't have that front man persona.
If you could talk to him about it, that'd be great, I'm sure he'd be amazing to have. But I actually had him on. So when I went during the pandemic in 2020, I did do this managers panel online on Zoom. And I had a bunch of managers on there, and I pretty much begged Chris. I'm like, Chris, can you come on? It was him, Tyler Henry, Matthew Jordan, Sasha, Byron. And I was like, Chris, I need you on here.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll do it if I don't have to show my face.
Did you let him do that?
Yeah, I did. I had to. It's Chris Smith. I had to. It's literally all our faces, and in the bottom right corner, it's Chris Smith, just the name.
That's hilarious.
And he didn't say anything for like the first 30 minutes, and then when he got going, he got going. But it was great to hear him, speak. Yeah. Such a legend, but he didn't show his face. So next time, Chris, if, we got to do this, it'd be great.
No, he says he's still my manager to this day. We talk every day, every second day. We're still very close friends and, working on a whole bunch of different things together.
Yeah. Were you guys, but the same age?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Was that the first act that he managed? Was you guys?
No, he had Philosopher Kings.
Oh, at that time?
Yeah, he was manager for Philosopher Kings, Jack Soul.
Yeah.
At that time, and then I think we were his second or third act.
How did you guys come together and connect?
We when we were up for a management discussion and it made sense to get someone, our lawyers at the time, we had there's Paul Sanderson and Zach Warner, who were attorneys in Toronto, and Zach introduced us to Chris. Because I think Zach was lawyer for Philosopher Kings and was working with Chris on that.
Okay.
And then when it came time for us to find a manager, Chris was one of the guys we met.
And what made you go with Chris?
I think at the time, he was younger, having philosophy. He had a couple cool bands that were happening. And him, he's very convincing.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. You guys then go and do the deal. He helps you with the deal structure and with the lawyers at Virgin. And then take me through that. How is that experience when you're with the label now, signed to a major?
It was largely good. I just always thought it was incredible that anybody wanted to spend $250,000 on my band.
8-piece.
I never took that for granted, let alone, $40,000, $50,000, $75,000 for videos and taking our music to radio and all the rest of it. So no regrets. I think I'm pretty objective. I mean, at the end of all of that was our big swing and our big bite at the apple. And I'd always told myself, by the time I'm 30, if I'm not as big as Bono, I got a law degree, I'm going to probably represent recording artists.
Oh, okay. You already had that.
I kind of, I hedged my bets.
Okay.
Because maybe in the back of my mind, I knew I just wasn't really that good. I was good enough, and we had a lot of fun for 5 years doing that. But I always knew the timer was kind of running. It's like, if it didn't work by the time I'm 30, I'm going to pull the ripcord and I'm going to get out and be a music attorney. And that was it. It was like I worked really, really, really hard trying to write the best songs of all time. And I could look in the mirror and be like, you know what? This is not going to be as big as I want it to be able to sustain. I didn't want to be a 45-year-old guy shopping demos, trying to get my next record deal. Maybe if we had 3 band members instead of 8 band members, it would have sustained a little bit longer.
And you're splitting that equally across the board. The whole time.
Yeah.
Writing, master, the deal and all that. Yeah,
I think we split the writing up a little bit more favorably for the writers, but we still shared some of the publishing amongst all the band members. And then all the live touring was split up 8 ways after costs and everything like that. It was just really, it was a lot of fun. But after 5 years, we played 200 shows a year, 5 years.
Wow.
In a Ford Econoline with 8 guys and 2 crews, so 10 guys.
Wow.
Driving all around. We drive for 6 to 8 weeks, get home, wash all our clothes, go
Did it
back
again.
on the road and do it all over
Canada,
again.
U.S.?
Yep.
Wow. And during that time, though, you're understanding and learning the business, because you say you go to law school for a year, but you're not going to law school for the music business. You're going for something completely separate, right? So now you're understanding and learning the business in real time. It's not like you knew any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's the apprenticeship.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Because law school, today it's a little bit better. You have some entertainment courses maybe, and there's lots of books you can pick up on it. But back then, you'd be lucky if there was an entertainment law course, like one course for like 3 months. And
Yeah.
you're not going to learn everything, and half of it's going to be about film and TV anyway, and you're just going to have it's going to gloss over the music business. So being in the band, myself and the guitar player, we were kind of the businessy guys. We were the ones that dealt with the agents and the managers and the labels and did all the businessy stuff. There's always a businessy person in every group.
For sure.
Usually it's the drummer. I don't know why, but not in our case.
Not in your case.
Yeah.
He was the lead. Yeah, that's a rare one.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah.
Is there a pivotal moment where you guys kind of identify like, I like this side of the business and I think I'm going to go into more the business side than being in a band?
I always kind of enjoyed that part of it, and I was always kind of curious. So it was always in the back of my mind, especially having the law degree. Somewhere in the midst of law school, I realized it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's like lawyers who also do music. There's music lawyers.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was such a thing, when we were in the band and stuff, until we started having lawyers helping us with things and thinking, oh, that's maybe what I would like to do when I turn 30 and it's time for me to move on with my life.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was a bit of a plan. First plan A was be as big as Bono.
Okay.
Plan B was to be a music attorney.
Got you.
Yeah.
Well, you went with the plan B.
Yes.
When was that when you ended up going? And I believe it's 1997, right?
Yeah, that's when I started practicing.
Absolutely, because practice is exactly what you need to get better in this music business. But let me ask you, are you having trouble figuring out how to effectively execute what you're practicing? Well, if you're an artist, manager, or an executive watching this episode and you're trying to advance your career, let me coach you, because I'm now offering private one-on-one strategy sessions. These are fully personalized, just you and me tackling whatever you need to advance your music career. Now look, with over 16 years of experience working with artists, managers, or GOAT executives like my guest Chris Taylor, I can help you map out your next career moves. Maybe you need help with your personal brand, or how to create an effective marketing strategy, or trying to figure out what content is authentic and engaging for your artist. Or if you're an artist yourself, I want to help. It's very simple. You can now book a one-on-one consultation session for a fee with me through my Calendly. You can find the link in the description below. Now let's get back to the pod with the legend, the absolute GOAT, Chris Taylor.
Okay, so take me through that. What's that process like? You quit the band. Is the band dissolved at this point?
They went on and recorded another album with another singer, and
It's never the same.
Never, was never the same. I think most of them would admit that at this stage.
Okay.
So I started practicing in 97, and I sat down with the lawyers that I was working with, that I was going to start working with, and they said, here's what happens. You work with these bands in Canada, and once they get really big, the guys from New York fly up here and they steal them from us.
Yeah.
I said, fuck that. Like, why am I I'll just manage bands. Like, why would I do that? Why does that happen? And he said, well, the US A&R people are close friends with the US music attorneys.
Right.
And coincidentally, when those US A&R people fall in love with a Canadian recording artist, coincidentally, their U.S. music lawyer friend calls them, and they link up. I said, "Well, I'm gonna go down to New York, and I'm gonna try to at least fight them at their own game. And I started going to New York. I started going to New York and shopping Canadian recording artists. I'd put, I'd have a CD wallet at the time and a big, ugly medical bag. And I'd probably have 5 bands, and I'd have 10 CDs from each band. And I had a little roller, and I'd be walking around Manhattan just fucking sweating my ass off, going from office to office, try to do the routing right. So I'd be in the Warner building. I'd see Atlantic, Elektra,
I love that you call
Warner.
it the routing.
Yeah, it was like a tour. Like, okay, on Tuesday I'm going to the Warner building. On Wednesday I'm going to go to Columbia, Epic, and I would do that. I'd go to New York 1 week every month shopping Canadian bands, Canadian demos.
How did you establish that relationship? Or you already had it to be able to get into the Warner buildings, or was it the legal team that you were working with in Canada?
It was scraping and clawing. I think I knew 2 people in New York.
Okay.
The lawyers in my office knew 2 people in New York. And probably my first trip to New York, I knew 5 people.
Yeah.
And then you meet 4 more when you're down there. So you go the next month, and all of a sudden you're meeting with 8 people, and you're meeting with 12 people. Then you've got a full calendar. Your whole week is filled up. Because I would, when you'd go out at night and you'd hang out with all the A&R people too. So you'd shop bands all day, and then you'd meet at the Continental or whatever the bars, the showcase bars were in Manhattan at that time.
Yeah.
And it was like a pack of us, the A&R guys and some lawyers. We'd go from club to club, seeing bands, drinking, having fun.
Which is important to understand, even to this day, that I think a lot of people don't know that aren't in the business, is that the lawyers are just as in the mix as the A&R, as the producers, as the artists, you can't really distinguish between them when you're out and about, right? Because everybody's hanging out with everybody. It's not like there's a lawyer always buttoned up in a suit. Like, it's different in this business.
They don't stand out like that.
Yeah, exactly. So continue then. You're now going there with the big medical bag.
Yep.
Routing your...
Got it on my little roller.
Yeah.
I'm schwitzing all over Manhattan, shopping. And I do a few little deals, like 97, 98. I do a couple of deals that it's encouraging, right? It's like, wow, I came home from New York. I got a demo deal for this band. I got a publishing deal for that band.
What band was it?
There was a band called Benjamin that I got a publishing deal for.
Okay.
Shout out John Tita, Warner Chappell, rest in peace. Peter Thea helped me on that. And there were a couple others. I can't remember the names now. It was a long time ago.
Okay.
And so I'm doing that for a couple of years, but what changed my life was Nelly Furtado. So I started, when I shopped Nelly, people's heads exploded. It was like, immediately, it's like, when can we meet her? Where is she? Can we get her on the phone? Get David Geffen on the phone? It was all of that.
As soon as you're playing the music, without a doubt.
Yeah, they listen to music, they look at the photos she had done for herself in like a cheap photo booth in the airport, and a bio she had written herself.
Really?
Yeah. It was magical. Yeah.
Got you. Bringing Chris back into the mix. Chris Smith.
Yeah, Chris was the manager.
He's the manager. Does he introduce you to Nelly? Does he put you on to Nelly?
He does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he kind of teased me with her, kind of like, well, maybe I'm going to let you have it. Maybe I won't. And eventually he let me take the recordings down to New York and play them for people.
Got you.
Yeah.
Does Chris have the relationships with people in New York at this point in time, or
not at that time?
Okay.
I think the Philosopher Kings had done a deal with Columbia in New York, so he had a couple relationships, but at that time he wasn't very networked.
Right.
That way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're taking it everywhere. Nelly Furtado, I'm assuming the bidding war kind of ensues a little bit?
Yeah, I would say that was, and I think she's spoken about this over the years. It was one of the biggest record deals of 1999.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a good old-fashioned bidding war.
Okay.
David Geffen versus Madonna versus Jimmy Iovine,
Wow.
Yeah.
When you say Madonna when she's running Maverick, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got Deftones at this point?
I think she did, maybe Prodigy and stuff like that.
Wow.
So,
okay. And you ended up going with Geffen.
We ended up going with DreamWorks.
DreamWorks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We had done all, it was kind of a weird one. We had done all the shopping and played it for a whole bunch of people. And I was meeting with a friend of mine, Benji Gordon,
Right.
who worked at Interscope.
Oh.
And he was a rock guy.
Yeah.
And as I'm leaving his office, he says, well, what else you got? I said, oh, well, I've got this, this young woman from Toronto. It's not your thing. Like, don't worry about it. He said, play it for me. Like, he was kind of offended, right? And so I played it for him. He ended up playing it for his friend, this guy, Jake Wisely, who's gone on to do great things in the publishing world. Jake Wisely ends up playing it for his friend at DreamWorks, this woman, Beth Halper.
Okay.
And out of the blue, we get a phone call from Beth Halper, and all of a sudden DreamWorks is in the mix, which brings in David Geffen. That's how David Geffen got onto the scent.
I'm sorry that I'm naive to this or ignorant to this, but this is the same DreamWorks of the film studio?
It
DreamWorks?
is. Yep.
That was Spielberg and them, right? Who created DreamWorks?
Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen. It was SKG LLC.
And something. Jobs, no? It wasn't Jobs. Or no, that's okay, right. No. That's Geffen. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. And that was really, I give Nelly a lot of credit for that too. Out of all the labels she could have signed with, she went with DreamWorks, I think, because they had, Rufus Wainwright and, some really cool artists that maybe weren't necessarily selling multi-platinum, but had a lot of artistic integrity with an executive team that had a history of like artistic integrity and success as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Nelly Furtado, what is it that you saw to be able to identify this woman has all the potential in the world to become a superstar?
She, it was the recordings to start.
Okay.
And then when I met her, when I had lunch with her, it was one of those lunches where my first lunch with her where I'm pitching her, it's like, you got to let me do this, I'm going to do that. And I looked down at my watch and 4 hours had gone by. Like her just kind of like talking about her vision for her future and what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was inspiring. She still sparkles to this day. She had it.
Yeah, that it factor.
Yep.
Very intentional. Knew where she was going.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. A real vision for herself.
Yeah.
And a distinctive sound, right? The sound that she came up with Gerald and Brian at that time was sort of revolutionary.
Yeah.
Pop and hip hop kind mixed together. And
was that track and field?
Track and field, yeah.
Yeah.
Brian and Gerald.
Shout out Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. He's out here, right? Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. I think he's in Vancouver now.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. You do the deal. He says it changes your life. When does it change your life?
It changes my life probably right around when it's happening, because it really puts me on the map, as like, who's this Canadian attorney like down here meeting with all our people, and actually off the back of that, I got 3 lawyers from New York tracked me down and just said, hey, we hear you're doing great things. Maybe we can collaborate and do something together. And I ended up forming an alliance with Fred Davis, Clive Davis's son, who was a music attorney at the time. Basically, he would call us his Canadian office at the time. So we became kind of his Canadian office up in Toronto.
Okay.
And whenever I was in New York, off the back of that Nelly deal, I would be able to work out of their office. I would be able to commiserate or talk to all their lawyers. Fred would introduce me to people. Every time I'd go into New York, he would hear that I was in the office and call me into his office. He'd be like, who do you want to meet this week? I'd be like, oh, I don't know, like Donnie Einer, or, I'd just like name names, and he'd like get them on the phone and be like, I got the hottest lawyer from Canada in my office. You got time for him? And they'd be like, okay, head down to Donnie Einer's office. And I'd get to meet all these like, huge music executives. He sort of provided real entree for me across the U.S. music business, introduced me to everybody. And when I walked into the room, I wasn't just some guy in Toronto trying to figure it out. I was Fred's guy.
Right.
It's like, oh, you're Fred's guy.
Way more respect.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't need to find this band another lawyer. You're Fred's guy. You know, because then I was able to pick up Sum 41 off the back of that Nelly deal and the Fred relationship. 3 Days Grace. Sam Roberts, Hot Hot Heat. I kind of went on a run, you know, after that Nelly deal, where it's like every time I went to New York, I was coming home with a record deal for somebody.
That's like the span of what, 24 months? 36 months?
Yeah, 24 to 36, something like that. By the end of like 2002, I think I did like 12, we did like 12 record deals for Canadian recording artists that I was shopping in the US.
So how are you finding these recording artists in Canada? I mean, I'm sure you have a network at this point and people are just bringing things to you at this point, or are you still going and seeking it out? And talk to me as well about, if you can. Like,
yeah. Well, let me tell you a little bit in the way it's changed now too. Because back in the day, you're right, people would seek me out, but everybody was seeking me out. So that would mean I'd have 50 CDs, you know, by the end of the month, maybe 100 by the end of the month. So I'd go into my office, you know, usually the fourth Saturday of every month, and sit there with the CDs and like, listen to this one, nope. Listen to this one, nope. Listen to this one, nope. And listen to this one, oh, Billy Talent. Oh, that sounds kind of good. Let's put that in the shopping pile, you know. And so really, it was an art back then, right? It wasn't. I know lawyers have all these tools now. They control the internet, and something's happening on SoundCloud, they can chase it down and find it. But back then, you had to listen to things, and sort of like what we said about Nelly. It's like, do they have the it factor? Yeah. You know. Yeah. Are these songs incredible? Are they competitive? Are people going to want to sign this? Is the band good live? You know, all of those things
are coming into play.
Yeah.
And so you just have taste. Like there's taste involved in this.
I do. I mean, I remind my kids of that all the time. It's like, I got good
They're
ears.
never gonna believe you, man.
No, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. But
I do.
I knew some things. I knew that, you know. I always say, like, if your song's not good, I can't help you make a great song. If you've heard the songs I've written, you know, I can't write great songs. But if the song is good, then I'm like, oh, that song's good. Yeah. Like, I remember, you know, doing all of these meetings. It was fascinating around that time too. Like these A&R people would play you records. They'd be like, hey, listen to what I'm working on. I remember hearing on one of my first trips to New York, hearing Britney Spears, Baby Hit Me One More Time. Like before it came out, being like, that's a hit. Wow. Macy Gray's I Try. Wow. That's a hit. You know, other things that weren't hits. But I think I have that tool. Yeah. You know, I don't have the extra tool that I envy with some executives. It's like, this song's not quite here, but here's what you should do to fix it. And who to take it to. And all. Yeah. But if you come to my office and it's ready to go, I can recognize it. Yeah. A lot of artists have trouble sometimes, right? Like they have 20 songs. They're like, I think all of these are incredible. I don't know which ones are the best. Right. I'm good at helping to figure out which ones are the best. And it's interesting with artists, more times than not, they don't really know how to identify the hit record. Yeah, there's so many stories of that. What is it about that from your experience? Why do you think, I guess, to your point, it's just they got so many records? Yeah, I don't know actually, because, you know, it's something I feel like I can hear and feel almost instinctively, and like I'm not right all the time, but I've been right enough to kind of build a career off it. But it's always kind of amused me. You know, it's funny, I was watching the Nickelback documentary last night. Okay. And watching them talk about This Is How You Remind Me. You know, they recorded that. They were just kind of like, oh, it just felt like another song. I'm like, no, that was that was a one listen, like something's happening here with this song.
Right.
You know?
When
I heard it the first time.
And did you hear it before it came out?
I didn't hear that one before it came out. I just remember the first time I heard it on the radio. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a tsunami.
Right. Wow. Yeah. It's such a different time where it's just like all these executives had to, I mean, you're gambling, essentially. But you, as a professional gambler, you beat the house more times than not.
Yeah, I call it's betting on the ponies, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you do this for a few years, right? And then all of a sudden you now say, I want to start a label, right?
Yeah. And I can rewind a little bit.
Please.
If the story hasn't been too long already.
No such thing.
Yeah.
No such thing. This is the podcast. You've watched the podcast with me and Cardi.
Yeah, you can put it on double speed or you can fast forward through.
We make sure we put chapters in there
there you go.
For people to go with it. But
if you rewind a little bit, so that band I was in the early 90s, our horn section, Dave and Matt, were part of Broken Social Scene. So friends with Kevin Drew and Jimmy Shaw from Metric, all of that crew, they used to come and see my band in the early 90s. Okay. So when I first started going to New York, I had no money. I was using my wife's credit card. I was flying connecting flight through Pittsburgh to get to New York, like, really, really on the cheap. I was like, hey, I need a place to crash. Like, can I stay at your place? Mm-hmm. So Chris Seligman from Stars, the keyboard player, let me sleep on his floor. I would take, they had this crazy loft in Williamsburg. Before Williamsburg was the place to be. It was the place where
don't go.
You'd get off the subway and just kind of run to your apartment. They had this huge loft space and he would let me crash on his couch. I'd take the cushions off the couch, put them on the floor and sleep there and then get up in the morning and go shop records, come home 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock after being out at the bar, seeing the bands, do it all again. And Jimmy and Emily lived down the hall in the same loft. And Jimmy played me the demos for Metric, probably in and around when I was shopping Nelly Furtado.
Oh, wow.
I literally had Nelly Furtado and Metric demos
that
I was shopping at the same time. And Nelly went through the roof. Yeah. And Metric, we ended up doing a demo deal with Warner Brothers. I don't know if your listeners or if you remember demo deals, if you're too young to remember demo deals, but demo deals would be, record labels would say, listen, we're not going to sign you to a big record deal, but we'd like to test drive. We're going to give you $10,000, go record 3 songs. Let's work on them together. Let's pick a producer, a studio. Let's pick the songs. Let's work together. And then we'll present the records to the company and see if we want to do a real record deal. So we do a demo deal with Warner Brothers. And after about a year of going through that whole process, Warner passes. I'm out in the world. I'm still shopping bands. I probably do Sum 41 by this point. Metric moves to London and they do a demo deal with Island Records. Same thing happens. They do the demos, they do the dance, they do the trial period. Island passes.
Okay.
And I'm back in the US. I'm not sleeping on Chris's couch anymore. I can afford a hotel. I'm flying direct into New York.
Yeah.
I'm shopping bands and doing 3 Days Grace and Billy Talent and Sam Roberts and Hot Hot Heat and all these bands. Metric moves to Los Angeles. They do a demo deal with Virgin.
Yeah.
Same thing happens.
Third time.
Do a few songs, do a little showcase, present yourself to the executive team. Virgin passes. This is 3 years after I've done the Nelly Furtado deal.
Okay.
So this is maybe 2002. So we're okay, this label, Restless, had been chasing the band this whole time. But we wanted a major record deal back when you kind of had to have a major record deal. Or at least we thought. And so we're like, okay, let's do the deal with Restless. We're getting like 110 grand. We can make a record, put some money in our pocket. We'll make a record. We'll finally put a record out.
Yeah.
2003 or 2002, I forget what the year, I think it was 2002, a month before the album's coming out, Restless calls and they say, we're not putting the record out because of Napster. We're basically going out of business. We got no money. We're not putting the record out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So this is like 4 years after all of
That's
this.
so fucking
We're
demoralizing.
not putting the record out.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, give us the record. We'll give you an override. We'll put it out ourselves. They're like, no, give us $110,000 and we'll give you the album back. And I don't think I've ever been more upset on a phone call than I was at that point with them. It was just like, this band has gone through so much for 5 years to try and fucking get this thing off the ground. I can't believe you're doing this to them. They wouldn't give us the record back.
No way.
And I didn't have $110,000, nor did the band.
Right.
So I went to my wife. I said, look, I'm going to take $35,000. I'm going to start a record label. I'm going to sign this band Metric. And I can't go to my grave not knowing, whether this band, should exist or, should get their shot.
You got to get it out there, at least, at the very least. This is your own money you're taking now at this point.
Yes. Yeah. My wife, I still don't know how to go into my own bank accounts to this day. She said, if, that's it, $35,000, $1 more.
Yeah.
And so we're on the road to making a record together, and I go to Pop Montreal in 2003, and I meet with Donald Tarleton, who's a concert promoter, owner of Aquarius.
Okay.
Signed Corey Hart, signed Sass Jordan, signed Sum 41. He's an incredible concert impresario.
Okay.
He's a legend in Montreal, concert promoter, partner with Michael Cole and like.
Oh, okay.
Legend. Okay. We shake hands. He says, "Listen, why don't we do it together? I've got all these sort of central services here, royalties, accounting. I got a little marketing team. I got distribution. I've got access to government funding. Why don't we do this together? And then we'll put even more energy behind the band." And that's how Last Gang started. We made the first Metric album and we put it out in, I think it was May 2004, 21 years ago now. And that first record, I mean, it didn't come out and explode immediately, but it was like the little engine that could.
Yeah.
And this was right around the time when Pitchfork really mattered. The blogosphere and everything else, and Broken Social Scene off the back of an incredible Pitchfork review became, big business.
Right.
And we kind of fed off the tailwinds of that because Metric was associated with Broken Social Scene.
That's right.
We'd play with them and tour with them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's right. Arts and Crafts and Last Gang were both kind of kicking off and starting around the same time.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
What is it do you think that makes people want to do business with you, even though you didn't have the experience of running a record label?
I think in Metric's case, we'd run out of options, to be honest. It's, we did 3 demo deals, we did a record deal, and we, by that point I had shopped them to everybody and their mother, right? Because I'm like, hey, I got Sum 41, I got 3 Days Grace. Why don't you take some fucking Metric? Like, sign these guys. Come on, help a guy out.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody couldn't get anyone to do it, Wow. Yeah, so it wasn't like they were talking to 3 other record companies. They're like, listen, I'm going to get some money together, and now I'm doing this thing with Donald to add some more weight behind it. Like, let's make a record. Let's get some money from Video Fact. Let's make a video. Let's try to get on the edge. Let's,
That's remarkable to me because what I'm hearing is you're not giving up on this band. even though you have Nelly Furtado, even though you have Sum 41, you have Sam Roberts, you have all these clients, things are going great for you, but you're still putting everything that you can, all of your energy into this one thing, not as if you didn't, I mean, it's not like you have a whole bunch of time, an abundance of time, but you're figuring this out for an act that has been turned away 4 times essentially at this point. So that just shows the perseverance of who you are and the character of who you are, and it's a good reason why you're still here in the business to this day doing it at such a high level.
See, it's a bit of stubbornness, you know, it's sort of, somebody tells me I can't do something. And I really, really believed in that band. I believed in them as people, and I really fucking loved the music.
Yeah.
You know, I thought they were incredible. And it just, it's like I said, when I trust my ears, when I hear it, I'm like, this is good. I know this is good, you know? And I couldn't go to my grave not finding out. It's like, I got to put this out in the world with these guys and find out what happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so it happens out of necessity, essentially, Last Gang.
It did, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where the name comes from. It's a Clash song, but we're the last gang in town.
Right.
You know?
But that Last Gang, for those who don't know, in Canada becomes an incredible independent record label. You guys do a lot of great business. And yeah, I remember hearing about Last Gang Records for just the coolest shit. You know what I mean? In Canada.
Yeah.
I very respectfully, I just never thought there was a lot of cool record labels, independent, just in my younger age in Canada, and then coming across Last Gang and the acts that you had on there, I thought these guys were amazing. And that's kind of when I started to find out who you were. I'm like, who's Chris Taylor? Wait, he's also a lawyer? I'm like,
what?
The guy that's got the coolest label in Canada is a fucking lawyer? What? It's blowing my mind. And this is probably like 2007, maybe 2008. Are you at that point still independent, or have you moved it over to eOne?
Still independent.
Yeah.
So 2004, we do the first Metric Records, and then we signed Death from Above.
Right.
Crystal Castles, Mother.
Death from Above, yeah.
Yep. Those are the kind of the first 4. And that's all trucking along. I didn't do the eOne deal to 2016.
Sorry, so what you did do at that time was like 06, 07 is you did the TKO deal, or you started another practice?
Yeah, the law firm. I left, we started our new law firm in 2006.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How are you juggling law firm, president / CEO / founder of Last Gang Records at that time?
It was stressful. I'm not gonna lie. There'd be mornings I'd go in the office. I'd just be like, okay, yesterday I started at 5:30. Today I'm gonna start at 4:30, and go into the office. And some days I walk in there. You've been to our office in Toronto.
Liberty, yeah.
Great atrium, like these. It's like you're in like a greenhouse, kind of like this great space. But I'd sit in the middle of the office and I'd just cry and be like, "Oh my God, this is so fucking hard. Oh man,
wow,
I'm gonna die." And it ended up working out. You know what saved me? I ended up with that law firm. We pulled together. It was a great group of lawyers. I had Miro Abala, who's still there.
Shout out, Miro.
Jason Klein, who's now went on to run Anthem. He's the CEO there. Stacy Mitsopoulos, who had like really, really cool taste and was kind of my wing person for like all of those deals that I was doing. It was like a really great group of lawyers, and we had a really great law practice. I was able to scale that. I was able to represent so many artists because I'd be like, well, I'm not available today, but Jason's going to help you with your detailed work, or Miro's going to help with this, or Stacy's going to help with some of these things. If there were big things happening,
it's going to you.
Renegotiations, litigation, change in management, new publishing, the big forks in the road of your career, I would be involved in those, but then the great lawyer team that I had would help me service all of that. which allowed me to have the time to spend on the record company, at least for a while.
Okay.
But I'm not perfect. I made mistakes. Once Drake walked into my life in I think it was 2007, he kind of swallowed me whole in a good way. You know, it was like all Drake all the time. I started neglecting the label a little bit.
Okay.
And I thought,
but this is 2007.
2007, 2008.
Because he's not on until 2008.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm not sure if it's 2000. Whenever Best I Ever Had was starting to happen, it was just before Best I Ever Had when 40 brought him to my office.
2008, 2009, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
In and around that time, before So Far Gone.
Yeah, before So Far Gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean, you know what I remember now, because I remember he came to my office and he said, "Hey, you know, I'm putting out a new mixtape. I'm having a mixtape party tonight." And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, I'm Chris Taylor. I'm not going to a fucking mixtape party. And that was
that a mixtape party?
That was So Far Gone. And I remember some of the younger people in my office came in the next day and they said, you know.
And they went?
Yeah, they said that, you know, LeBron James was at the party. Right?
That's right.
I'm like, I better pay a little more attention to this Drake business here.
Got you. So that, okay.
Yeah. No, but he had a sparkle too. You know, like on first meetings. Very, I mean, you've been around him. Very.
Not like that, to be honest with you. I've been
super impressive. Individual.
Seldomly, I haven't been around him extensively, but a lot of people in that camp, obviously, I have, spent some time with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I hear all the time, that you could tell that there was something there. But I mean, in all fairness, a lot of people in Canada passed on him. And what was it, again, what do you see in him in that moment where you're like, no, this kid's different?
Yeah. It didn't, remember with MySpace,
right.
MySpace used to I think it was like every Monday morning or whatever, it would be like top unsigned artists in Canada. And there'd be a whole list every week. Sometimes it would change.
Yeah.
But Drake was at the top of that list for a long time. And I was always kind of like, how is this fucking Degrassi rapping kid on here? Like, I don't get it. Like, where are all these followers coming from? And really didn't get it until I got to sit down with him.
Okay.
And 40 brought him to the office.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wait a minute. This guy is like paying attention to everything. Smart.
Right. Dialed in.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Charming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something, is that a character trait that you want to see in artists that you're working with? That they have the ability to communicate their vision, that they're smart, that they, obviously drive is one thing. But
it's kind of that can be really exciting. I mean, there's other artists that come to my office that are just a fucking complete mess. And I'm like,
but they're great.
I'm just like, I'm so in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Crystal Castles came to my office for the first time.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've, do you know their first album? They have that sort of iconic photo. They're both kind of looking at their shoes. You can't see their face or whatever.
Yeah.
Alice, they sat on a couch across from me, and Alice sat like this almost through the whole meeting. I was like, what is happening?
But you're enthralled. You're like, yeah.
Claudio was just like talking a mile a minute about the whole master plan and everything else. So it's different things with different artists, different combinations of chemistry that just become the it,
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit because you were talking about scaling Last Gang and scaling the legal practice. Is the scale of the legal practice happening organically? Because when you say you assembled a bunch of lawyers together, it sounds like you got all these people, you put them on salaries. Is that what happened, or was it little by little?
That was the crying part. That was the first, like when I did leave my old firm and wanted to set up a new firm.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm paying for the office space.
Right.
I'm bringing in all these lawyers. Jason was at Castles on Bay Street, and Miro was at another firm. Like, I had a responsibility to fill their plates, you know?
And you knew all these people prior, obviously?
I didn't know Jason that well, but
Okay.
I knew Miro, and Stacy came with me from the other firm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're funding this all yourself? This is all your capital, no other capital coming in from?
Yeah, that's correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you have Last Gang going as well. And how big is Last Gang at this point?
And Last Gang's going pretty good by then.
Yeah.
You know, we'd done a few deals, and some of the cash flow from Last Gang helped pay for the law firm, or the law firm change.
Right.
In 2006.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
That's good to know. I'm just personally curious of how this all kind of came about.
Yeah, no, I didn't have like a rich, a rich family or a trust fund or anything for that. My parents have been really great, and they're awesome and really supportive, but I didn't have that. I had to kind of build it.
Yeah. No, I wasn't even assuming that. I thought maybe there was some other capital or something, you know.
Yeah, no investors or outside. I mean, the investment on the Last Gang side was Donald, so we were 50-50 partners.
Right, and that was it.
Yep, and he did put some money into the mix, and like factor and different kind of government funding sources.
Of course.
Yeah, that was invaluable. I mean, all of that, Factor, Star Maker, Video Fact, everything that built the foundation of Last Gang.
So Drake comes into the picture, takes away a lot of your attention because it's a rocket ship, the business of Drake.
Yep.
And I've said this multiple times on the podcast, it changes the trajectory of Canadian music, or at least in hip hop, but
the
really,
Drake effect, yeah.
Very real. But then you go and you're doing that now that brings in, again, it's kind of maybe like the Nelly Furtado situation. Again, it's like Chris Taylor again is representing one of the biggest artists at the time, new artists. Mm-hmm. And so you're getting more people coming your way, but then at some point you now step away from the legal side, or maybe not step away, but now eOne comes into the picture at some point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I was gonna say, if there's lessons to be learned, I made a mistake with Last Gang, because as I got busy with Drake, instead of taking the money from Last Gang and kind of putting it back into the business and staffing it with, young adults, it was more or less staffed by interns.
Oh, okay.
And underserviced that part of the business. As those acts were getting bigger and bigger, I should have been providing more and more service at a high level.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that, and they were upset with me.
Yeah, they feel neglected at that point, right, when that's happening.
And if I had to do it all over again, I would have tried to find people like you to bring into my orbit to help me run this business, because I'm going to France with Drake, and I'll be back in a week. But I need someone here to be an adult in the room to run this Last Gang business.
Right.
So we had some hiccups at that point.
That's important, I think, because if you want to get great people, you got to spend the money, right? But it's a good return on the investment, because you want to ensure that these ultimately your assets, who are your bands or your artists, that they're feeling protected, they're feeling the love, that their business is growing at the same rate as the label is growing, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, absolutely. These are human people at the end of the day.
Yep.
So if they don't feel like they're getting the best services, it all falls on really that's running the show.
And if you look at, I know this is a management-oriented podcast.
Not really, but it's more business. That's why I'm asking about legal, but I guess Manager's Playbook is...
Manager's Playbook. I mean, the ones who have played the playbook the best, if that's the right phrase, they've all built incredible support around them. The great managers in our business have incredible staff that work alongside them,
Yeah, that's true. That's very true, which you now have, and we'll get to that. But I do want to ask you, because you brought it up, and it is the first time it's brought up on this podcast, but I don't think people here in America really understand what the Drake effect was in Canada.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that a bit?
I'll tell you about the Drake effect, because, I was coming out of being in a reggae ska band,
Yeah.
I was sort of hip hop adjacent, and I represented so many Canadian rap artists that I took to New York, along with all my alternative rock bands and everybody else. I was shopping Brass Monk, Shaw Claire, Citizen Kane, Ghetto Concept.
Crazy. Wow.
You name it.
Wow.
I was going down to New York.
I didn't know that.
I was like, this Brass Monk shit. They're like, no, bro. Like,
No.
you need a cosign. Like, you don't understand hip hop. I'd be like, I think this is really good. Like,
it was Agile. They didn't like. That's who it was.
well,
no, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I love Agile. Shout out to Agile.
Yeah.
Good people.
Love that.
Amazing producer.
Yeah.
Yeah. We always break each other's balls.
But he was a problem. Yeah.
Probably the least problematic person we had.
But all of that changed overnight, right? Like Drake happens in maybe that it is somewhat related to the Lil Wayne cosign.
For sure.
That kind of gives him credibility.
Yeah.
Plus he's like super talented. Plus he's got a great team around him, and everything kind of happens. All of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute. Like maybe this Canadian stuff isn't so goofy after all.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, you saw it, right? You remember when like even Outkast was coming up. Like they didn't want the South to happen, let alone the North.
There's that famous clip of them at the Source Awards in '95 where they win Best New Artist, and Andre's like,
and people are booing.
They're booing, and he's like, the South got something to say.
That's right.
And then everything changes.
Yeah. And we just never we didn't really get our shot until Drake, and now the North's got something to say, and now you've got 40, Boy Wonder, really that producer ecosystem that just explodes and blossoms around that. And credit to Drake as well, right? Because when he does his deal and everybody's saying, okay, well now you get to work with Rick Rubin and Timbaland and Drake's like, no, I'm working with my guys.
So important.
And that just fertilized the whole community. I mean, it's still paying dividends to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You would think that that's the natural step to go and work with the Just Blazes, like you said, the Rick Rubins. But
happens all the time.
All the time.
Yep.
But he knew he had chemistry. But it's kind of like a foreign thought at that time to stick with your guys. It must have been a lot of push against him doing that, right? And staying with his core group, which changes the dynamic of Toronto in the biggest way.
Totally. Yeah. And I would say, I wasn't in the middle of it every day, but I didn't get a sense that there was heavy pressure. I think it was almost like, oh yeah, well, of course, now you're going to go work with like all these famous Platinum Plus producers in America. Yeah. And he just didn't do that.
Yeah.
Eventually he's worked with almost everybody, but
for sure,
40s touched almost all the records.
He's the one helping craft the entire sound. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I guess you have an understanding of the Drake effect at a very, I would say, intimate level, because a lot of those producers, they were coming to you to help with the deals as well, right?
Because I was working with Drake, it was hard for me. Like I couldn't represent The Weeknd. I couldn't represent the producers because I would be in a conflict.
Okay.
I would love to represent all of them, but I wasn't able to represent 40.
Okay.
I was always Drake's guy.
Fair.
So I was on the opposite side of the table.
I love that you're able to explain that, because just the level of importance that he's had to Toronto and the music scene is just it's hard to put in words, right? But it's a very real thing.
Yeah, 100%.
When are you then all of a sudden approached by eOne?
I started talking to them in and around 2012.
Okay.
I was on the board of Keras with the founder of eOne, Darren Troop. And he started taking me out for coffee, I think, after like Keras meetings. And then there was one dinner in 2012 where he said, listen, why don't I buy that label you have, and why don't you come in and run the music division at Entertainment One? And I think my initial response was, well, I'm the lawyer for Drake. I'm not going to do that, you know, because I love what I'm doing now. But we kept talking and talking. And the more that I looked at it, as I did see the opportunity, you know, to move to Los Angeles, opportunity to get closer to film and television as well, because eOne was largely a film and TV business and a family and brands business with a little music piece. But I knew Darren was super passionate about the music space and had kind of kept it on life support through the Napster, I call it the Napster winter, right? From 2002 to 2016. Record sales were going like this and people were losing their jobs.
Left and right.
But somehow he kept a music division going that was probably just kind of breaking even on life support because he loved music. He started with a record store in Halifax, Nova Scotia, right? 25, 30 years ago. And I could tell I would learn a lot from him. And so...
What was something that you learned from him that was like pivotal to your career?
Patience. You know, I think he'd always say, listen, there's a price for every deal, and that's the price I'm willing to pay. I'm not going to pay more because other people are willing to pay more. And having that kind of discipline, you know, I don't always have that discipline, but it is something in the back of my mind, you know, when I'm trying to do deals and try to stay patient with things. Very patient, really great leader, you know, lead by example. You know, work hard, play hard, have a good time, but be serious about your business. And take care of your people. You know?
And then, so now he brings you on board. How long does that take roughly for you to come on board? And
you know, I mean, it was we negotiated, I walked away, he came back, we negotiated, I walked away.
Wow.
And then he came back a third time. They really, initially he wanted me to close the law firm, basically. It's like, if you're going to come to eOne, then you've got to close your law firm, take your name off the door, let the partners take the practice.
How come?
I think, you know, I could understand that. If you're hiring somebody and you're going to pay them a lot of money, be like, well, I don't want you to have a side hustle here. Like, you know, you're running the music division of a publicly held company. I want you to be dedicated to what you're doing. And really for me, I was just like, well, if I don't like it after 6 months, I want to be able to go back, you know?
Did you communicate that to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and that was all. It was like, look, I don't want to be a lawyer and a music executive. I want to do this job and I'm going to give it 100%, but.
The music executive side.
But if I can, you know, that the lawyers and the staff and the clients, those are like family to me, right? So really moving on from that was very difficult, but I was able to keep my name on the door. I was able to do some limited work for clients in the transition. So I had a list of clients I was able to represent. And so that was good. That was kind of the happy medium. That was the last thing. He's like, okay, you can do that. And then we signed off, and I moved there in March 2016.
Yeah, and you guys had that massive office over there on Richmond. Right? eOne is like, it's an independent company, I guess. At the time, it was kind of noted as that, but it never felt independent to me. Well, you said it's publicly traded.
It's an independent, but publicly traded.
How does that work?
I think the sense is, I mean, at least on a record label side, I mean, there's 3 majors that are acknowledged as the majors: Sony, Universal, and Warner. And anything else is considered independent.
I guess, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Sure, why not?
It gets a little muddy.
You
know, what's independent, what's not. I mean, is Concord independent? Is BMG independent?
I say no.
I don't.
At this point, you go into those offices and you see there's 100, 200 people staff. It's just like, no, I don't think so.
No, those are feeling like mini majors. Maybe.
Yes. Now, so you're running the music division over here, and how are you taking it to the next era of music, how are you building this business? What are you doing to implement, your strategy, your thought process to this building here?
I had a 5-point plan when I started at eOne. So one was I wanted to build a management division. So we were able to, we had probably about 150 artists under management eventually. I wanted to build a publishing division because they didn't have one. So we built a publishing division, started signing writers. I wanted to build a bridge between film and TV because they had a music division and a film and TV division and a family and brands business, but they never talked.
Very siloed.
So we would do things like put out a Peppa Pig album, for the first time, do the music and soundtracks for some of the films, do music supervision for some of the film and TV projects. So really started to integrate those businesses. 4 was wanted to do some mergers and acquisitions work. So wanted to roll up some smaller companies. We were able to buy Dual Tone, which had the Lumineers and a bunch of really great bands. And then eventually we bought a company called Audio Network, which was a production music library we bought for $215 million.
Oh, shit.
In 2019. So we were on our way. And then 5, I think, was just more like a general idea of excellence, trying to really sign the best artists and really go for it and kind of change the complexion maybe of what eOne was previously known for, which was maybe more known as, 50 Cent at one point called it the graveyard of the music business or something like that.
On the radio when it was Koch.
Yeah. It wasn't a desirable place to be at and a desirable place to be signed to.
Right.
And I wanted to change the complexion of that. And I'd say we're on our way with all of that in a really serious way. I was having a great time. And then Hasbro bought the company in 2019. And that, we weren't quite sure how they felt about the music business one way or another. So it took a little while for us to get our bearings in the building. And I'd say we did have our bearings by February 20th, we had our bearings. It was like, Chris, you're the music guy. You're running all the music stuff. Shit. Anything music, there was like a chart they put out, intercompany, showing all the duties and the leads on all the different business areas. And then COVID happened in March 2020. Yeah. And that changed the complexion of everything all over again.
Or is there a question of how you don't know how they feel about the music business because the worth of it is just it's far less than the worth of the film and television?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that. And it's interesting because COVID valuations on music businesses really kind of got into the news media with hypnosis.
Exploded,
all of a sudden people are like, wait a minute, music is
valuable. It's an asset.
Was like going out of business. It's like, no, that was 4 years ago. Now music is an asset that's streaming every day in your sleep.
Yeah.
Non-correlated assets, as they like to call them. But during the purchase of eOne by Hasbro, music was just a side topic, that I don't think anybody really paid attention to. They wanted the film and TV business because they wanted instead of hiring third parties to make and develop their filmed content, they're like, well, let's buy a company that does that and bring that in-house. And then also with the family and brands business, they could be, well, let's grab Peppa Pig and PJ Masks and let's make the toys and games in and around that IP. It was really made a lot of sense.
Totally.
The strategy. And then it's like, oh yeah, there's a music division. It's like, I don't know, we'll figure out what we're going to do with that later. They've got Death Row and other things in there that might not make a lot of sense for us. So we'll get to that later. But eventually we were able to become part of the strategy. Like I said, like Brian Goldner, who was the CEO of the company there, I think was a fan of what we were doing, and him and Darren were working on the larger vision for the company. It was just COVID just killed us. You buy a company for $4 billion, partly so that it can make and produce and develop film and TV content for you. All of a sudden, they can't do that. It's like,
right.
Okay, we don't know when we're going to be able to film anything ever again.
Yeah, very uncertain time.
Yeah, the most uncertain time.
The most in our lifetimes.
In our lifetime.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they're like, okay, well, we have debt. We bought this company for $4 billion. We have debt. We have dividend obligations we want to continue with. We got to sell something. And then somebody at some point said, hey, the music business is worth a lot of money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at what point is that, 2021?
That would have been the summer of 2020.
When that conversation starts to happen.
Yeah.
Very quietly.
We're in the midst of COVID. Again, understandable, right? It's like,
of course.
We've got to sell something.
Yeah.
The sky is falling here.
Yeah.
And oh my God, the music business is
lucrative,
worth a lot.
Right.
We could probably, so they came to me and said, listen, we're going to sell the music business. Can you help us lead a process to do that? And we started into that in August 2020.
Okay. Are they coming to you because they know you also have the legal experience to figure it out?
Not so much, because they have great lawyers and in-house lawyers.
Okay.
And even I would say my lawyering skills are more music industry focused, and I've had more exposure now to M&A now than I had at that time. But it was more about I knew how to sell the business. If someone wanted to buy the business, what's attractive about it? Why is it worth a lot of money?
And so why is it worth a lot of money? Can you take us through the process of that?
Yeah, I mean, the first and foremost, it's when it's a bit of that hypnosis pitch, right? It's like the world of streaming music is growing. There's more and more subscribers every year. I don't know when that's going to stop, but it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that just means a bigger and bigger pot of money for recorded IP, music publishing and recorded assets. We were unique in that we were globally scaled. We had offices in London, Toronto. We had some people in Miami, Nashville, LA. So we weren't a mini major like Concord or BMG, but we could be. We were on the verge of being that with a little extra gas in the tank and a bit of an M&A strategy. We could buy some of the things that those companies were buying, BMG and Concord. We could buy some of those assets and really kind of grow on top of the platform that we had built.
And you just did one anyways. You did one, right? You did the licensing deal. You said the M&A with
we had bought that company, the Production Music Library.
That's right.
Audio Network.
Right.
And that was an attractive piece of the music business as well. It's like, wow, look at this business. This is a really well-run, operated production music library company. So that was an attractive part of it. Our management business, I think management, and we'll probably talk some more about that, but management is more and more becoming a real power position in the music business. Well-resourced, experienced managers can do a lot and build really great businesses for themselves. We had a great publishing business. We had a music department. We had the Death Row asset at the time. So we had the Lumineers.
Yep.
And that dual tone asset. We had Last Gang. So all of that together was something everybody wanted to kick the tires on and take a look at.
Mm-hmm. And how long does that deal take to get done?
It starts in August. We started putting together the deck, and then the announcement on the deal was April. So that was, I don't know how many months that is. That's like 9 months,
Okay.
something like that.
Patience, like you said.
Yeah.
You gotta be patient through that process.
Yeah. And sometimes it can take longer than that, but that's
For sure.
that's pretty typical for deals of that size.
Yeah. And so you end up doing this deal for $385 million to, I don't want to get this incorrect, BlackRock, is it?
Blackstone.
Blackstone, sorry.
Yep.
Not BlackRock, Blackstone. Yep. What made you go and do the deal with them? It's just, was that the highest offer? Was it, what came from that? And how, like, was it debt financing? Was it, how did that?
Ultimately, trying to think of how much of this information is publicly available. Hasbro owned the company. I did not. So ultimately, it wouldn't have been my decision on where we went, although that was where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Out
Okay.
of all the people that were looking at us.
Okay.
So I was thankful for that. But Hasbro, you know, you'd have to ask them exactly why Blackstone and not someone else. I would assume they paid the most money.
Yeah. I guess it comes down to it at the end of the day, especially if they're letting go of the asset.
I literally, you know, I'll just leave it at that.
Can I ask, and we could take this out if anything, but like, why was that the preferred place for you?
If I always thought if Sony bought us, for example, or Universal or some other big record company bought us, I'd be like, well, we already have 5 Chris Taylors. We don't need a Chris Taylor, and we actually don't need these 200 staff either, because we can just take the asset, put it into our mulch machine or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And away you go, right? Yep. Get the cost savings, get rid of all the people.
Yep.
Take the asset, put it into the machine, and just make the money from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
versus where with someone like a Blackstone, they didn't have a pre-existing record company to kind of do that with. So
right.
I thought the opportunity would be with them.
That's because you still stay on board for a few years, right?
Yeah.
You remain CEO, and it gets rebranded Monarch at that time?
Yeah. As part of the sales process that, you know, we couldn't be eOne anymore.
Yeah.
We became Monarch.
And you're a part of that project. You're the key man in this situation.
Yeah, I think I came up with the name and the logo.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. You're there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You step away. Not to fast forward the story.
Yep.
But you then step away. Then you decide in 2024, you want to start in management. Hall of Fame artist. What makes Chris Taylor start a management company in 2024? Why do you do this to yourself?
Yeah, I've had some other friends ask me that as well. Terry McBride teases me about this.
Okay.
And I tell him, I say, I love it. I love it. And it's not all about the straightest line to making as much money as possible, but I love it. I love working with artists directly. I love being aligned with them, and I love being on the same side of the table. Yeah. You know, and I think that comes from being an artist. That comes from being an artist advocate as a lawyer. It's like I like when you're the record label, it's adversarial.
Yes.
Half the time, right? It's
more than half the time.
Yeah. So I like being in the manager's seat, and I do really think, you know, as I alluded to earlier, there are so many tools at your disposal these days. I know everybody likes to say, well, you can do everything yourself. It's like, calm down. You can't do everything yourself, but you can do a lot more yourself now than you could 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And really good managers, you know, like Jonathan Daniel at Crush, or Corin Capshaw at Red Light, or the Azofs, or Scooter Braun, or, you know, with what they're doing at Remus, like those are all like proof is in the pudding.
Right.
Can managers build really big, amazing businesses? Mm-hmm. Yes, now more than ever. And you can own assets if you're managing Drake, or you're managing Snoop Dogg, or you're you're partners with someone like a Jay-Z, there's real assets to own alongside managers. Ted Chung taught me that, Snoop's old manager. And he said, listen, you be a partner with the artist as opposed to the manager who could potentially be fired any day.
Right.
It's like you're owning assets along the way.
But owning assets, not necessarily in terms of the music, it can be there, but if they're already off and going, right, they've already built a business, then there's other, across other verticals, whether it's a merch product or if it's a toy or whatever it may be, right? This is what we're talking about.
100%.
Yeah. Well, this is a quote from an interview that you did, and just to what you're talking about, you say in this interview, look behind the curtain. Management companies are providing a bunch of services that historically record labels have done. So in what you're saying, it's more than just now a traditional, I would assume, and maybe there's a bit of that, but with Hall of Fame artists, it's not just looking at it from the commission, 10, 15, 20%. Artists that are coming on board, there is also a partnership and an equity, because I think, again, you said this, but really maybe driving the point home on this is managers are really helping build the ecosystem of the artist.
Yeah.
And more than ever, it feels like the dynamics have changed, where you don't necessarily need the record label, but you do need people who are very good at what they do. And you need lots of them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the dynamic has changed where there's another way to look at the business for the manager, where there's more equity and there's more skin in the game.
100%. You think about it this way, it's like Spotify, Apple, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram is changing every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There's something new going on with just those 6 platforms, not to mention, Snapchat, and you could add another 10.
Right.
It's changing every day.
Yeah.
You as an artist, you gonna track that every day? Like, what's the new hashtag that TikTok's using? What's the new dimensions that Instagram is using in terms of their photos? Like, staying on top of that and being an expert in that requires someone to be doing that all day, every day. And good management companies are bringing people into their orbit to sort of monitor that and monitor those platforms, every day.
Yeah.
But when you look at even a good record label, major record labels in particular, it's like, okay, how are you mastering that in Australia, Southeast Asia, the UK, and all around the world? I think you still need those record label partners who are scaled that way to provide that support. But you can get a lot of things going and have a lot more control and a lot more of the back end yourself as a manager and recording artist than you could 10 years ago.
Do you think, though, as a management company would say Hall of Fame artists, is that where the future could potentially lead to, where you don't need to sign to a major label and you can have boots on the ground in all of these other territories?
I think it's a little tough to have boots on the ground in all these other territories. So I think there's still a reason why Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Drake are working with major record labels because of some of that.
Gotcha.
Then again, someone like Taylor Swift, she's not signing a 7-album life of copyright 18-point royalty deal anymore.
Yeah.
She's doing maybe 1 or 2 albums on like a 90-10, or I can't imagine how crazy her deals are and her split is. She's maintaining all the control and the majority of the margin.
Yeah.
And really that's a market share play at this point.
For the label.
Yes.
Talk to me about market share. There's probably nobody that I've had in this chair that understands market share more than you would.
Market share gets most important on a couple different levels. When there are black box payments that get paid out, there's these, these funds that are sort of like in the air, amounts that aren't claimed, that need to get distributed throughout the music industry. They're often distributed based on market share, So let's say there's $100,000 of undistributed money that needs to be claimed by the industry. Those three major companies are getting the majority of that because of their market share. So they're maintaining that market share because that's one of the main reasons. Also, market share allows them to push around people like Spotify,
Right.
Having larger market share, having Taylor Swift most of the time allows you to push around TikTok.
Lets you dictate the terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which in this case would be Universal and Lucian Grange.
Yeah.
Right.
And TikTok's not sitting there going, well, you've only got Taylor Swift on a 98.2 deal or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But Lucian doesn't have to worry about that. It's like, no, I got Taylor Swift.
That's all that matters.
And you don't get her.
Yeah.
Although in the case of TikTok, she kind of went around them anyway and, kind of thwarted their strategy in that regard, right? I mean, it's part of the reason why they had to throw in the towel ultimately
EMG
on the TikTok argument.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because somehow, some way, Taylor was still doing business with TikTok when everybody else on Universal wasn't allowed to.
That's right.
Because she's so big,
Yeah, that's right. And so big that you kind of turn a blind eye to that at the label. Like, all right, cool, go do your thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to piss off that artist or that person.
The dynamic and the power dynamic in the industry is really changing, every day because of that. As artists get more and more established and have more and more power and have more and more tools at their disposal, they're able to drive tougher deals with these major labels who used to be able to get a lot of rights in return for what they put on the table.
And that's where the power and the dynamic is shifting over to the managers. Yeah,
exactly.
Now, you said something interesting because you said there's a black box, right? Just so I want to be clear, you're talking about $100,000 as like an example, but that's not the real example. We're talking about billions, hundreds of millions?
Millions for sure.
Millions, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the publishing side and on the recording
Publishing
side.
For sure. Yeah, because there's neighboring rights and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So on the management side, it's interesting to me how you've built it up. You have a marketing person, the founders in the company or the partners in the company. I'm not sure what it is, and their names are escaping me. I have it here somewhere, but I can't find it.
Oh,
but you had a marketing person and you had a radio person and then another.
Yeah, it's been interesting the way it's been assembled.
Yeah,
like each one.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, each one of the managers. Well, there's 6 altogether now, so it's still relatively small, right? Myself, we all manage our own rosters, but at the same time, I have some extra tools in my toolbox. I was a music lawyer for 20 years, so I've got that tool in my toolbox. I've got a little bit of A&R skill, so I've got that tool in my toolbox, and I've got a great Rolodex of contacts.
Agreed.
Keith Hagen, who's one of our managers based in New York, was a serious high-level music publicist for 20 years before he got into the music business. So if you need a phone number or an email of somebody at the New York Times, Saturday Night Live, or the Tonight Show, he's got that covered. Sarah Osgood, who works for us up in Toronto, is again, she does a bunch of things extremely well, but she's an incredible tour manager person in terms of budgets, organizing, production, merchandise, like hardcore admin, making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
Yeah.
We have another staffer in Vancouver, Casey, who's a younger guy who's like has a history as a DJ. really up in terms of data analytics and digital marketing.
Yeah.
Both Casey and Kate, who work with us in New York, are sort of digital natives, younger people who kind of like grew up in this and just love figuring out how, where, and when to find fans.
Yeah.
You know, and think about it all day.
Yeah.
Every day. Everybody's working really, really hard. So it's kind of complementary. There's some newer people we're bringing into the company too that will fill up some other holes in the organization.
I found it interesting that you had a radio person in there, because a lot of people think that, again, take this off if you want, but I found it interesting that you had a radio person in there, because a lot of people think that the medium is dying, but to me it showed that it's still a really important piece of the puzzle, especially if you want to break an artist nationwide.
Yeah.
That's how I thought of it.
Yeah, I think having that, you know, I still think it's not as important as it used to be 10 years ago. We all know this.
Yeah.
But life is better if you're on the radio. You're on the radio? Sure.
Yeah.
You know, that's another one of the 24 things that you want on the program.
Yeah.
You know? And so having people who have been in and around radio at a serious level with experience of how it works is invaluable, you know, relationship-wise, experience-wise.
Yeah. What would you say in today's day and age, now you having Hall of Fame, what are those other things in the dozens that you want, you know, the check mark in the box checked to ensure that the career is moving forward and there's momentum there?
It's a bunch of those items that I mentioned already. So, you know, people would argue press and publicity probably not as important as it was 10 years ago, but still important. You know, still matters.
How come?
I mean, you know, you start
This is what we're going to argue.
Yeah. Well, you start, and again, I prefaced it by saying not as important as it was 10 years ago. I mean, if you had a, you know, great review in Pitchfork or something like that, that could almost change your life overnight. I'm not so sure it does anymore.
No.
And you can get, you know, we've all got those press reports of like coverage in 70 different online, you know, articles or reviews.
Right.
Doesn't move the needle as much as it used to. But then every once in a while, there's a New York Times review that matters. Some people would say being on the Tonight Show doesn't matter anymore, but I think I'd rather be on the Tonight Show than not be on the Tonight Show. I think I'd rather be on Saturday Night Live. Certainly moves the needle. Jules Holland moves the needle. There's still press, you know, opportunities that still move the needle, just not as much as they used to.
Yeah, no. So I mean, to your point, that's all, like, I think if you're trying to get a press person to move the needle for you and break you, and all of a sudden you become a superstar because you do a late night appearance, it's not going to work like that anymore. But that's still a good thing for the fans, for your fans of the artist to see as well. Those are wins for the fans of the artist also, just as much as it is for the artist.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you almost have, because it's so expensive, that press piece, you've almost got to be scaling your business to the point where you can actually afford it.
Yeah.
You know, so that you're not bankrupting yourself.
Right.
You know, $4,000 a month for a publicist versus spending $4,000 a month on digital marketing early days.
That's what I mean.
Makes more sense.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you start making enough streaming wise and live wise where it's like, get a publicist, be on Jimmy Kimmel, you know?
Yeah.
Try to go for SNL, try to get that great review in the New York Times, you know, to sort of really fill out the entire picture.
Yeah.
But I think back in the day, everybody was hiring a publicist.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you just had to do it.
Yeah.
Now, not so much.
Yeah, that doesn't break you this day and age. Okay, so publicist?
Publicist, a little bit of radio muscle, digital marketing, that touring piece is essential when you're looking for, you know, a management company that can kind of do everything. You know, I would say with managers, there's like 10 boxes you can check, and no manager checks them all.
Right.
Like you know, the best you're gonna do is 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
You know, there's always something that they're not an expert in. Some managers are really great at creative, some are better at legal, you know, so you try to find the manager that checks the most of those boxes, and if you're a smart manager, you fill that out with other people that can do those things.
Prop up your weaknesses.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Did you partner up with somebody for this, for a Hall of Fame?
Not yet.
Okay.
No. Yep.
Again, so this is just you're funding this whole thing.
Yep. Yep.
That's crazy. Holy, you love taking the risk. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, we're fortunate in this case. We kind of start with a running start. So we have, you know, Arkells and Lights and Simendi and it's a Super Dupes and our friend Cardinal Official. You know, so there's a good client base there, you know, to grow from. I'm not crying in the middle of my office at 4:30 in the morning anymore.
But how important is it that you have the relationship with these artists, that they get Chris Taylor on the phone?
I mean, all of them, it's such a small roster. I do have pretty good relationships with almost all of them.
Yeah.
You know, Arkells I've worked with, God, it's going on like 15 years. Lights, it's going on 20 years. Cardinal I've just started with, but I talk to him every day.
Yeah.
Super Dupes I talk to pretty much every day, multiple times a day. Keith, who works with me in New York, he has a roster that he's been with and grown with, you know, himself over the last 5 to 10 years. And we combine on some of his roster, some of the LA-based roster a little bit more than some of the acts that he's been with for a long time. So it's a sort of a different dynamic for everybody. But if he needs me for certain things, little contract review, contact somewhere, you know, we've got an artist that's doing a photo shoot here on Saturday, so I'll go to that and cover that. You know, we sort of mix and match and collaborate.
You talk about some of the artists that you've been working with for 15 or 20 years. What is it that you think keeps the artists having a sustainable career?
I think with both of those acts I mentioned, the long-term ones, like Arkells is, that band is so driven, you know, starting with their leader, Max.
Shout out Max.
Max never sleeps. He loves it. He's an extremely creative person and just loves the whole game and is inspired by it, and has Ashley Potvin to run with him just as fast. Like, she's mind-blowing, you know, how great she is. And then Lights is kind of in that pod too, because Ashley and I and Sarah work directly with Lights, and Lights is just a fountain of creativity. You know, she's born that way. You know, she's going to be writing songs and illustrating comic books and doing all the rest of it. She does forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember meeting Max. It was really interesting when I first met Max, because he sought me out, if I'm not mistaken. And this is me like early-ish days management. But I guess he kind of looked into my resume a little bit. And so I remember meeting with him in Yorkville, Four Seasons Hotels. And it was interesting. I was like, why does the lead singer of Arkells want to sit down with me? This guy's doing arenas. In my mind, I think Birch Hill actually put us together.
Yeah.
And he was kind of reminding me of me a little bit. He was peppering me with questions.
Yep. Just very curious.
Super curious. And I always felt, and I remember sitting down with him when we had a coffee there, and saying, oh, that's why it works with these guys. Like, he's just infinitely curious, and he's just super driven.
Yep.
You know? And I just remember that about Max, and thinking, okay, yeah, like this is a part of like one of the pieces that you need in order to continue to grow your career and stay 15 or 20 years in the business. But I wanted to ask you that because, I mean, you've seen and worked with the greatest in the business.
Yeah. No, he's right up there with them, you know, in terms of being an inspiring leader for that band and just an inspiring human being. I feel honored to work with him. He's hard to keep up with sometimes, but
Is he? Yeah.
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just got. I mean, you've spent time with him, right? He's eternally curious, has incredible questions. He's just learning all the time, and he loves it. He loves it like I do, like all of us do.
Yeah. Would you say he has the right mix? And would you say a lot of the artists that have really big, successful careers have the right mix of artistry and business?
I would say
When I'm talking about longevity, not like this 3-year crazy spark.
yeah. I would say like some artists don't always have the business side down, but they do have the work ethic.
Yeah.
Like don't get it twisted. Like Beyonce, I think we all know this, works really, really hard. I've, watched her over the years. Nelly Furtado works really, really hard. Drake works really, really hard. Like they're extremely driven.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh man, their songs were so good, it's so easy for them. No.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No, the work, the touring, the moving around. The touring.
People don't realize how much that beats your body up. It doesn't matter if you're flying private or you got your bus. Like, it's still a demanding schedule. Yep. There's a lot of wear and tear in that.
Yeah, definitely is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got to have that desire, right? Like what inspires you to continue doing that after you've done it for 50 years or even 30 years or whatever it is. It's just like you love it. I think you love it,
Is that what keeps you going?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I love it. I can't do anything else. I got to be around music. I pinch myself every day. It's like, how is this a job?
I know.
How did this happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't take it for granted, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's an honor to have you here, man. I appreciate you taking the time, tell your stories. I really just wanted to hear it, from you firsthand, and we've spoken before a little bit about it, but the fact that, you give the time for this, I just think it's amazing. I think it's dope. For me to be able to say, hey man, I got Chris Taylor on the podcast, in Canada, in the US, that's a big deal, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinion. So I would love to know a couple more things. Mm-hmm. What's next? Where do you see Hall of Fame artists going? And then I'll save the last question, but tell me where you see Hall of Fame
I think
artists going.
What's next? Like today, I love more of the day-to-day contact. It's been fun having a smaller company to manage, as opposed to hundreds of people and all over different time zones. It's been great to spend time like really listening to music more these days and working directly with Dupes and Cardi and the roster. It will be some scaling, I think.
By the way, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Super Dupes is one of my favorite people in this music business. Like legit. Like I feel like when I met him, I met an older brother who was like very helpful and very wise and like just thoughtful. He's like always motivated me in many ways, to continue just doing what I'm doing. He's a good dude.
It's so funny because I spoke to him this morning and he asked me if I knew you. And I said,
really?
Are you fucking with me? Like, do you know I'm going to be on the podcast? Yeah. And for me, I've always been a fan, like from the outside looking in, I'm a huge reggae fan. So I'm like, that guy's the shit. Like, man, that guy's so talented.
Yes.
And then being able to work with him and now getting to know him and what a joy he is to be around. It's like, again, it's like a pinch me moment. It's like, how is this my job? I have to listen to a new Buju Banton song this morning on the way to work.
Yeah, I have to.
This stinks. The record is fire. It's crazy.
Sick. That's sick.
I listened to it 4 times.
Yeah, and the fact that he's bringing Black Chiney back is amazing. That's so fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, sound clash, man.
That is such a joy, and I was going to say, putting a bit of the band back together. I do have some management friends that, I want to kind of combine forces with for the better. The better of all.
I'm in. No,
so there's a bit of that, and I do. I'm formulating a strategy to be closer to film and television again.
Yeah.
Because that is something that gets my juices going.
Okay.
And I think a lot of the artists as well want to compose or be cast in film or work on soundtracks, or I had a lot of fun doing that for the time that we were at eOne. So I want to get back to that as well and build a strategy around that side of things.
Nice. You're going to do it. You're going to crush it. I mean, you always do. Yeah. You've been killing it for so long in your career. Last question I got to ask you, and I forget to ask this question every now and again, but I can't forget to ask you this. What are 3 books that you would recommend? Doesn't need to be in the music business. Anything that, you think are good reads for people to take in?
Oh, wow. Everybody should read Donald Passman's Everything You Wanted to Know About the Music Business.
Yeah.
It's in 11th or 12th edition now. I buy that for people all the time. I've got 5 copies on my shelf at home.
Yeah, I had Chip on the pod.
All right.
Yeah, early.
Oh yeah, they had a Canadian chapter for a while.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, that he wrote. Yeah.
There's another book I read. It's called Everybody Lies. I don't know if you've read that one.
Sounds familiar.
It's a fascinating read. It just kind of goes into how much everybody lies or stretches the truth.
Okay.
Except for myself, of course.
Except for us on the pod, yeah.
I just read, there's an amusing story. It's called Paper of Wreckage, which was the story of the New York Post, the history of the New York Post. Just for an amusing read. Those would be 3. I could come back to you maybe with some more impressive picks.
No, but I mean, off the top
that Passman book from a work side of things, Everybody Lies, really kind of struck me. Yeah.
I said off the top of the podcast that I thought you were the most well-rounded and accomplished executive that we know from Canada in the music industry. And we now know why. Appreciate your time, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
This is great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.